And a good afternoon to you watching on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube page, our 580 Sports Talk Twitter account, and also on the WIBW News Facebook Live. My name is Dan Lucero, and this is a Kansas Jayhawk instant reaction from Allen Fieldhouse, where the Kansas Jayhawks have defeated the Houston Cougars 78-65. Number 8 beats number 4 in this marquee Big 12 showdown. The Kansas Jayhawks were in control of this game from the very start, and they did things to a Houston Cougar team that nobody does to a Kelvin Sampson-coached Houston Cougar basketball team. Thanks for tapping in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already. 580 Sports Talk. Follow us on Twitter, 580 Sports Talk. Follow us on Facebook, WIBW News on Facebook. Catch all of our live video content and our archived video content, again, available on the YouTube page, 580 Sports Talk. Where to begin with this one? How about this? How about these numbers? 68.9% on 31 of 45 shooting. That is what Kansas just did to the team with the number 1 adjusted defense in the country, according to the KenPom rankings. It is the best shooting total for any Kansas team, for any team against Houston since Kelvin Sampson has been the head coach going back to 2014. Kansas put on an offensive clinic, and it started from the very beginning. They threw a hellacious first punch in this game, making 8 of their first 9 shots, jumping out to as many as a 16-point lead in the first half, and never relenting in this impressive victory tonight against the 4th-ranked Cougars. That's a pretty impressive number, 68.9% from the field. How about 46.2% from 3? Not a high-volume three-point shooting team tonight, Kansas, but they knocked down 6 of 13, made their first 3 of the night. Johnny Furphy knocking down 3 of his 4 three-pointers tonight. Kansas was also plus 16 on the glass. They had 40 rebounds to just 24 for Houston. When you think about Houston, you think about defense. You think about effort on that end. You think about being a tremendous, tenacious rebounding team. You think about a group of junkyard dogs. I have so much admiration for this Houston team, how hard they played. Even tonight when they got behind, their effort level is tremendous. They don't have a lot of size, but they play big. They play tough. And Kansas was tougher, and Kansas was lethally efficient on the offensive end. The game plan, the half-court offense, the cutting, the passing, the shot quality, it was all terrific for Kansas throughout. Only 18 turnovers stands as a blight against KU in the box score, but again, Houston's a great defensive team. They force teams to turn it over about 16 times a night, and Kansas turned it over 18 times. One of them was not really a turnover. They kind of were dribbling out the clock, and the shot clock ran out, the clock didn't. That's not really a turnover, but still, 17 is a big number. If not for that number, this could have been a blowout. They could have done the Rock Chalk Jayhawk chant, wave the wheat with 5 minutes left, if not for those turnovers. That's the only blight. Everything else on the box score, really, really good for Kansas, especially when you consider the caliber of opponent. Houston had not allowed 78 points to an opponent this year. The most they had allowed, 72. That was to Texas earlier this week. That was an overtime game. So for Kansas to put up 78 points on 45 field goal attempts against the number 1 defense in the country, I mean, I don't need to add anything to that. That right there says it all. Hunter Dickinson was the main man scoring-wise for KU. 20 points on 9 of 15 from the field. Also had 8 rebounds. The thing for Houston, like I said, they play big, but they don't have a lot of height. They certainly don't have 7'2". And one of their biggest, strongest post players, Javier Francis, landed hard with about 11 minutes to play in the first half, landed hard on his hip, came out of the game, never returned to the game. That was a big loss for the Cougars because they just couldn't bang with Hunter down in the post. And late in the game, when Houston was kind of lingering, not letting Kansas really put it away just yet, it was Hunter Dickinson getting to the block, getting to his spot, hitting baby hooks over much smaller defenders. Defenders that were 7 inches shorter listed height, trying to guard Hunter Dickinson in the post, and Dickinson turned out the lights on the Cougars late in the game. Big night for him. I mentioned Johnny Furphy, 17 points, 8 rebounds. Another great night for the freshman from Australia, improving every single time out. Had 14 of those 17 in the first half. Had a personal 7-0 run at one point that he punctuated with a jam in transition. Kevin McCullough, 17 points, 7 rebounds, 7 of 8 from the field. Furphy and McCullough were a combined 13 of 15 from the floor. Furphy only missed one shot, and it was a 3. McCullough, it was great to see him back, showing no ill effects from the bone bruise in his knee that kept him out Tuesday night against Oklahoma State. He was back to his terrific self. And then KJ Adams, solid game for him. I said on Twitter, KJ Adams is the most Houston Cougar of the Kansas Jayhawks. A guy who's not real tall, but plays bigger than he is and is aggressive, and he's strong, and he's tough-minded, and he just makes winning plays. He had 10 points in this game, also had 7 assists, and had a beautiful pass to Kevin McCullough for a late basket that helped KU keep Houston at arm's length. Good bench minutes tonight from a couple of guys for the Jayhawks. Elmarco Jackson had a couple of good possessions in a row. Then he had a couple of bad ones in a row that got him pulled, but it was a step forward, I thought, for Elmarco. He had 2 points off the bench. And Parker Brown came in for 8 minutes, scored 5 points, had 3 rebounds, hit a 3 at the top of the key, and also made a couple of free throws after Houston had gotten it down to 10 with about 5 minutes to play. Parker Brown tonight, he only plays when Hunter Dickinson is off the floor, right? So if you're KU, you're trying to hold it in the road. We've talked about this. You're just trying to be not blown off the floor when Hunter Dickinson takes some time off and goes off the floor. Well, Parker Brown was a +1 tonight. So KU won the minutes with Dickinson off the floor. If they do that, they're not going to lose a lot of the minutes when Hunter Dickinson's on the floor, just how much he changes, how well he plays on a nightly basis. If they win the non-Dickinson minutes, even just by 1, they're going to be awfully tough to beat. Houston suffers their biggest loss of the season. Their previous 2 losses had been in conference play on the road. They lost to Iowa State by 4 at Hilton Coliseum. They lost by 1 at TCU right after that, and they hadn't lost since. They were on a 5-game winning streak. LJ Cryer tried to bring Houston back in. LJ Cryer is one of my favorite players in the Big 12, has been for the last couple of years. He's a Baylor transfer. He was not intimidated by the Allen Fieldhouse atmosphere because he's been through it before as a Baylor Bear. He did everything he could to bring Houston back. He scored 21 of his 24 points in the second half, made 6 of his 12 threes. But the problem for Houston, when they got behind big, that was their only path back, was the 3 ball. They're going to have to make a bunch of threes, and they made 9 of them, but they missed 20 of their 3-point attempts, just 31% from behind the arc. This was not a game when they got behind by double digits early that really suited Houston's grinded out style. And I wonder if Kansas really emphasized the opening 5 minutes of this game, the opening 10 minutes of this game, as a way to come out, throw a big punch, and try to take a sizable lead and throw Houston off their game a little bit. Juwan Roberts played a really good game for Houston in the post. He was about their only post player after Francis went out after just 4 minutes. He had 11 points and 13 rebounds, 7 offensive rebounds. JoJo Tugler had 8 and 8. He's one of my favorite players in the league as a freshman. Those guys did their best, but again, that's 6'7" going up against 7'2" Hunter Dickinson in the post, and down the stretch, Dickinson had his way with that height advantage in the post. Couple more notes on this one before we wrap up here on the reaction show. This is only the 3rd time in the Bill Self era that Kansas went into a game as an underdog at home. They were previously an underdog against Ohio State back in 2011. That was a Final Four team that KU beat in the Final Four. But Ohio State came here. They were a favorite in 2011. Baylor came here and was a favorite in 2021. KU went off as 1.5-point underdogs in this game. Just the 3rd time in the Bill Self era, he's been here a while, that KU's been an underdog at Allen Fieldhouse. They've won all 3 of those games, and they've won them by double digits. So if you're into having a little action on games here and there, hopefully you did not miss the blessing that was KU plus money on the money line for this game. And the other thing to point out, too, the crowd, tremendous. I mean, they always bring it at Allen Fieldhouse for sure, but there was something extra in the air tonight in this venerable building. Great energy, great volume. This was a game that Kansas really needed. If they wanted to be a factor in the Big 12 race in the second half of the season, they had to get through this first half at 6-3. They've done that. Now Houston 6-3 as well, and KU right in the mix where they always seem to be in the Big 12 race. That's about enough for me here from Allen Fieldhouse. So we'll wrap up this video. We appreciate you watching along again on our YouTube stream, 580 Sports Talk. Also, 580 Sports Talk on Twitter and WIBW News on Facebook Live. We'll have a full reaction to this game with the whole 580 Sports Talk crew on the Monday edition of 580 Sports Talk. Myself with Brendan Brzezinski and Spencer Dupuis will react to this one. We'll react to K-State's disheartening loss at Gallagher-Iba Arena in Stillwater. And of course, because it's Big Monday, we will preview the Sunflower Showdown, the first of two this year at Bramlage Coliseum. K-State, their season on the brink, losers of 4 in a row. Can they knock off the Jayhawks? Is it a letdown spot potentially for KU coming off an emotional home win? We'll break all that down on Monday's edition of 580 Sports Talk from 2 to 6. Also plenty of Super Bowl 58 talk on the show as well. So we hope you'll join us on YouTube, Twitter, or on 580 WIBW and FM 104.9 from 2 to 6 Central Time on Monday for 580 Sports Talk. Until then, this is Dan Lucero saying good night from Allen Fieldhouse.